I've got to be honest, Seahawks fans, this is one of those situations that sounds exciting on the surface, but the more you look at it, the more complicated it gets. We're talking about moves that could completely change the direction of the roster, and while adding a big-name player always grabs attention, the real question is whether it actually makes sense for the team right now. There's a lot of buzz, a lot of rumors, and some interesting developments that have people around the league paying attention. But before anyone gets carried away, there are some important details that could determine whether any of this is realistic or just off-season noise. If you're enjoying the video, make sure to hit that like button and let me know your thoughts in the comments. And for today's question, comment, "Go Hawks." If you believe this team should trust the roster it already has and avoid making a blockbuster move. The latest developments surrounding two pass rushers who have repeatedly been connected to trade speculation are creating a fascinating conversation for Seattle Seahawks fans. And the discussion centers on two names that continue to generate attention across NFL circles: Myles Garrett and Kayvon Thibodeaux. According to the information presented in the source material, both players have recently resurfaced in rumors regarding their potential availability, leading to renewed debate about whether Seattle should seriously consider making a move. The biggest headline involves Myles Garrett and the growing belief from NFL insiders that Cleveland may eventually have to consider a difficult decision. Garrett remains one of the league's premier defensive players, but the discussion is no longer focused solely on his talent. Instead, the conversation has shifted toward timing, roster construction, and whether his prime years truly align with where the Browns currently are as a franchise. One of the key points highlighted in the report comes from Albert Breer, who examined the situation from Cleveland's perspective. The argument is not that Garrett has declined or that he is no longer an elite player. In fact, the opposite is true. The reasoning is that Cleveland must honestly evaluate its timeline. The organization is attempting to build around younger talent, particularly players expected to emerge from upcoming draft classes. If those players require several years to develop into a winning core, there is a legitimate question regarding whether Garrett's championship window will still match the team's competitive window. That is where the speculation gains momentum. If Cleveland determines that its future is tied to younger players who may need 2, 3, or even 4 years before the roster is ready to seriously contend, the franchise could decide that maximizing Garrett's trade value now makes more sense than holding on to him. The report specifically notes that his timeline may not align with the foundation Cleveland hopes to establish moving forward. Another detail that has fueled discussion is Garrett's absence from optional team activities. While that alone does not prove anything and may not even be unusual for him, it has become part of the broader conversation regarding his future. Observers continue to monitor every development for signs that a potential trade scenario could become realistic later in the offseason. Of course, whenever Garrett's name appears in trade rumors, the immediate question becomes cost. The source material emphasizes just how enormous that price could be. One proposed framework mentioned involved 3 future first-round selections. That kind of package reflects Garrett's standing across the league. He is described as the best edge rusher in football and one of the most impactful defensive players in the entire NFL. Even with age becoming a factor as he approaches 30, his value remains extraordinarily high. For Seattle, that creates a difficult calculation. On one hand, adding a player of Garrett's caliber would instantly strengthen any defense. Few players possess his ability to disrupt games, pressure quarterbacks, and completely alter offensive game plans. On the other hand, surrendering multiple premium draft assets would significantly affect the organization's long-term flexibility. The report repeatedly stresses that acquiring Garrett would require a massive commitment, not only financially, but also in terms of future roster-building resources. What makes this especially interesting is that the discussion is not simply about whether Garrett is good enough. That question has already been answered. Instead, it is about whether Seattle actually needs to make such an aggressive move. The argument presented suggests that the Seahawks may not require a blockbuster trade to achieve their goals. Rather than investing heavily in one superstar, the belief expressed in the report is that Seattle has found success through depth, balance, and a collective approach across the roster. That brings us to the second name generating attention: Kayvon Thibodeaux. Unlike Garrett, Thibodeaux presents a very different profile. He is younger, would likely cost less in trade compensation, and remains a player with considerable upside. However, the situation surrounding him appears far less urgent. According to the report, there has been speculation for some time that the Giants could be willing to listen to offers, but recent developments suggest New York may not be eager to move him right now. The source points out that Thibodeaux has dealt with health challenges during his career, and some observers may feel his production has not fully matched expectations associated with his draft status. Nevertheless, when healthy, he has shown the ability to be a productive edge defender. The report argues that dismissing his potential impact would be inaccurate because he remains capable of being a major contributor. What seems to be changing is New York's current outlook. As off-season activities continue, there appears to be confidence that Thibodeaux can help the defense this season. Since he is entering the final year of his contract, the Giants have options. They can keep him throughout the season, evaluate his performance, and then determine their next step afterward. That means there is no immediate pressure forcing the organization into a trade. Because of that, the report suggests that any serious trade discussions involving Thibodeaux may be more realistic closer to the trade deadline rather than during the current stage of the offseason. If circumstances change, if performance levels fluctuate, or if long-term plans become clearer, New York could reassess. But for now, the indication is that the Giants still see value in retaining him. Perhaps the most significant takeaway from the entire discussion is the overall conclusion regarding Seattle's pass-rushing group. The position outlined in the source material is straightforward. The Seahawks do not need to trade for an edge rusher at this time. The reasoning is based on confidence in the players already on the roster and the belief that sacrificing major draft capital for Garrett or even valuable assets for Thibodeaux may not be the best path forward. Instead, the argument is that Seattle should continue relying on roster development, depth, and alternative options if additional reinforcements ever become necessary. While rumors will continue and speculation will remain a major topic throughout the offseason, the current view presented in the report is that neither move appears essential for the Seahawks right now. With both Myles Garrett and Kayvon Thibodeaux continuing to generate headlines, the debate is far from over. Trade rumors can change quickly, especially as the season approaches and teams reassess their situations. But based on the latest information available, the biggest question for Seattle fans is not whether these players are talented enough to help the Seahawks. It is whether giving up the required assets would truly be worth it. What do you think about this situation? If Seattle had the opportunity, would you pursue Myles Garrett, target Kayvon Thibodeaux, or keep the current roster intact and avoid trading valuable assets? As this situation continues to develop, one thing is becoming increasingly clear. The Seahawks are once again finding themselves connected to some of the biggest defensive names in football. Whether it's the blockbuster possibility of Myles Garrett or the intriguing long-term potential of Kayvon Thibodeaux, these are the kinds of rumors that naturally grab the attention of every fan. But for now, Seattle appears to be in a position where patience may be just as valuable as making a splash move. The front office will continue evaluating every opportunity, and if anything changes in the coming weeks or months, you can be sure it will become one of the biggest stories surrounding this team. Now, I want to hear from you. If you were making the decision for the Seahawks, would you trade for Myles Garrett, pursue Kayvon Thibodeaux, or stick with the current group of pass rushers already on the roster? Share your thoughts down in the comments, because this is a debate every Seahawks fan should be talking about right now. And if you enjoyed this update, make sure to subscribe to the channel, leave a like on the video, and turn on notifications so you never miss any breaking Seahawks news. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to click on the video appearing on your screen right now. The latest Seahawks updates and rumors are waiting for you there, and the fastest way to stay informed is right here with us.